40s that will bring us back into balance, because that in fact was back when America was great, at least according to Donald Trump. But so since this is the Republican convention week and we are Republican heavy, even though Fox News claims to be fair and balanced, I'm comfortable saying it's still in Republican land. Alan Moore, the chairman of Fox News Channel, Roger Ailes, is in a little bit of trouble. Can you enlighten us with what's going on there?
Well, so what happened is that a woman who had been the anchor or co-anchor of a couple of different programs for about 15 or 18 years did not have her contract renewed. These people operate under time-limited contracts, and they can, while they're under contract, they can be moved around. They tend to be moved around depending upon the audiences that they have and the revenue that those audiences tend to produce. It's kind of a you eat what you kill kind of a business. Yeah. So if you get the audience, you're a huge success, and audience, and that converts to advertising revenue. And if you don't, watch out. You can be in trouble. So this woman who people talk about as having been fired, she wasn't fired. She just didn't get her contract renewed. And it wasn't like they said, we're going to offer you a contract at half what we used to pay you, at least so far as we know. It was like, nope, we're going to move in a different direction. Well, she decided that she had a basis for a lawsuit against Fox and against Ailes
this would
personally.
Be Gretchen Carlson.
Yes, thank you. And so she went all in after Roger Ailes and accused him of, among other things, sexual harassment. Well, that gets everybody's attention. Is that a true thing? Did that really happen? Is this an angry woman? And basically what you want to know whenever that charge emerges is, what do the other women say? Women are experts in this subject, A, and B, it is very, very rare that somebody who's going to be sexually harassing or acting in an inappropriate way, sexually, male towards female, does it only once. It is almost always part of a pattern.
Yeah. Well, there are also reports that Megyn Kelly has claimed that Ailes has said inappropriate things as well.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. I was just telling the chronology in my slow, plodding way. So
plod right along.
Measured. Thank you. Thoughtful, calculated,
don't push
structured.
It. Don't push it.
Yeah.
Measured.
So the question is, well, what do other women say? It sounds like a new thing. Well, then there was some mixed bag. Some public figures said, I never experienced that with him at all. Thought he's always been great. Then there were some unidentified former employees who said, yeah, I experienced a little of that. And then all eyes turned just in the last 48 hours to Megyn Kelly, who's been their high-profile person, who had her famous run-ins with Donald Trump. And it's been reported today that she has apparently said, yes, I've experienced that with him too. And so the latest reporting on Ailes is that Robert Murdoch and his sons, who were involved in the business, are moving in the direction of saying Roger's become enough of a liability that it's time for him to go. We will see. He has been spectacularly successful in building up a cable network that is far, far more successful financially than any of the others. He's got a stable of stars, if you will, who have the largest followings in the cable world, and so we'll see what happens. It all came out of the blue in about the last 2 weeks, but I think the key is if there's a pattern and people willing to step forward and say, yes, this happened to me, that happened to me, then he's done.
He's toast.
Bob Hines, you've worked with major media as well.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that?
He's toast if people come forward and say so.
Well, Fox News has also done the I've typically seen it as the Blonde Bombshell Brigade, the Gretchen Carlson as well as Megyn Kelly and the innumerable number of other people who have filled in the Blonde Bombshell slot, most notably in Fox and Friends, who Gretchen Carlson was always seated between Steve Doocy and the other guy whose name I can never remember. But Gretchen Carlson also had the comments that Steve Doocy, also her co-host from Fox and Friends in the Morning, had made some noteworthy inappropriate comments to her. So, can a network function that way, or is this unique to Fox?
A network cannot.
In spite of the success that Alan correctly pointed out, Fox is by far the most successful of the cable news networks.
But as a network, you cannot be seen to be the kind of people you don't want to be with. You can't do it. They either have to have a clean act, or they can't. Or if it's dirty, it's not going to work.
Well, I mean, a clean act. I mean, I'm trying to remember back when when Jordan was bombing ISIS. A Fox commentator referring to one of the Jordanian fighter pilots, who's a female, said, I'm quoting here, do we refer to that as boobs on target since it was a female fighter pilot? And this was something that was said live on the air. Congressman Al, I mean, is this Fox News, or is this the end of that kind of Fox News, or are we turning in a different direction?
I don't know. It depends on who they replace him with, whether it's an end of that kind of thing. I must say that I'm old-fashioned, and I think there needs to be a clear division between news and politics. And when Roger Ailes was appointed to this position, I thought, oh boy, and what you got is the war on Christmas. That's completely created by the Fox cable.
You weren't chairman of the War on Christmas Committee in Congress?
No, I wasn't. And what I'm saying is, I'm not going to be sorry to see him go. But whether he gets replaced with somebody just as bad or worse, it remains to be seen.
It would be hard to be worse.
Yeah.
Or as bad.
Well, there's a lot of charity here.
I have no charity for Roger Ailes whatsoever. I must admit that.
I understand. I mean, I think that Fox. The reason there was an opening for somebody like a Fox was because there was a widespread perception that the networks and the other cable channels all had a left lean to them. I think there's evidence of that, particularly at MSNBC, at CNBC, at CNN. But we don't need to debate all of that. I think that
those were in reaction to what Roger Ailes was doing.
No. They predated Fox. Come on, Al, and we can go back to CBS, ABC, NBC, and the leanings of a lot of the on-air people. I'm not saying it that so.
See, I never believed that.
Well, fair enough. You like to deny all sorts of truths, so they lean a little left, and
successfully most of the time.
And then Fox swings well right, and leaving sort of this gap, and then everybody else from Al Gore to God knows who all try to fill in the middle.
Yeah.
So. We've got shows that try to produce news.
Infotainment, I believe, is the better phrase.
No, I don't agree with that. I think that it's just like we sit around here. We can talk about the news. We're having to rely on traditional news organizations to get our basic information, and then we talk about what we think that means. That's what Fox does. That's what MSNBC does. That's what CNN do. They have to do it 24 hours a day, or they repeat some of the programs. So I'm not an Ailes hater. Now, having said that, if the world. The world has been changing for 30 years about behavior in the workplace, men's behavior towards women, long history of sexist objectification, and just when we think there's not much of that anymore, then this thing pops up. Roger Ailes is not the kind of guy that. He's got plenty of haters, don't get me wrong, but he's not the kind of guy that you'd normally think of as somebody who's sexually harassing women. And turns out, it sounds like, we'll see where this ends up, that there was more there than meets the eye, and what he was doing and many others doing 20 years ago with relative impunity, you can't get away with anymore. And then if somebody brings up a current charge and other people say, that happened to me 10 years ago or 12 years ago or 15 years ago, and it becomes additive. And old news and old behaviors, when you're adding it on to more current stuff, watch out. It can topple powerful people, powerful institutions. And when we're hearing on the news that the Murdoch family is thinking it might be time for Roger to step aside, it could very well be what's going on. And Al can be happy that the evil Roger Ailes got his comeuppance, and
I will be.
and I don't begrudge Al his
triumph.
His blind prejudice hatred. That's okay.
Yeah, we don't know that Roger Ailes didn't also sexually harass Al. I mean, that could have been as well. We don't know. Just saying. Al, any news you'd like to break here?
Don't know. That's certainly true.
Roger Ailes is ugly, among other things.
So
that's really not the point.
Oh, I see.
That being said, there were a few other things that broke in the news this week, and one of which I'd like to highlight. There's another lone wolf attack in Nice, France, on Bastille Day. Alan Moore, can you enlighten us a little bit about what happened there?
Well, this was another one of these cases where we start getting reports of horrors that have occurred, and the assumption is that it's some kind of a group, because often it is a group or a group supported or more than one person. In that particular case, a very large truck was careening at high speeds through crowds of people celebrating Bastille Day, which is sort of the equivalent of Independence Day in America. And you imagine being down on the mall here in Washington and have a few 100,000 people down to watch the fireworks, and a truck somehow getting unleashed and just driving through the crowd at high speeds and killing 85 or so people, injuring a couple of hundred others. We don't know what's going on. He's killed on the scene, but only after he's wreaked havoc all over Nice. Huge fear of what's next. Is there another one? How many people are involved? It looks now like it was one person, a French citizen who came from Tunisia, who was another crazy guy. In fact, this was one where none of the normal suspects, the Daesh, the ISIL, the ISIS, the Islamic State, that's one entity, but all the different names that people use, they weren't claiming credit, they weren't claiming ownership of the guy. They were happy for what he did. He was apparently influenced by their thinking and websites and so on, but he apparently employed a strategy that that has been suggested in the past. Get a vehicle, kill a bunch of people. You don't have to do it with a gun.
No. Get a car
Just
and run it.
get a car and run into a crowd.
Run 'em over.
And as long as you're willing to die, you can kill a lot of people in most countries.